Welcome, beloved. Welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. Welcome to the first day of the best of your life. Welcome to some sacred empowerment during this full moon lunar eclipse in Libra, falling on the 23rd of March, 2016. I want to talk to you about the empowerment of this time, or how to achieve empowerment during this cycle that can be somewhat challenging and difficult if the right energy is not brought to it. I am Aries Miraculi, and here to help you remember and help you wake up to the greater expansiveness of that divine beingness that you are. When the moon is full in Libra, and particularly when there is an eclipse, we will be experiencing some of the shadows of relationship. Always eclipses give us the opportunity to look at some of the shadow aspects of our lives. Looking at that within our lives which is requiring some kind of redemption. Because we always have the power to escort the shadows into the glory of the light. Because everything was originally pure. And the shadows of life represent that which has strayed away from the central core of being and the central core of life. For in the central core of our being and in the central core of life is that inner sanctum of reality that cannot be contaminated by any negative thing, any darkness, any pain, any sickness. We have something within us that is uncontaminatable. Life has something within it that is uncontaminatable. And so always the adversities that we deal with represent energies that have strayed away from home, which is the central core of life, the central core of being. When we address the shadows of relationships, we sometimes have to look at the ways in which we have engaged in self-hatred. Self-hatred is a misapplication of self-relationship. When we are out of genuine context of relating with ourselves, we are always meant to relate with ourselves from a place of deep and abiding and expansive love. No matter what we do, achieve, create, or don't do, we're meant to follow the example of the Most High. The Most High loves us with an infinite love by virtue of our being. Nothing to do with what we do, achieve, create, or avoid doing. As we address some of the shadows of this full moon eclipse, we may need to look at some of the issues of jealousy. Sometimes we feel a sense of jealousy if we are fearful of losing something, or we envy or are jealous of someone else who has something that we feel that we want for ourselves. When there is a jealousy toward the one who has the thing that we want, we're unknowingly jealous of the thing that we want and pushing it away. We want to transcend the energies of jealousy. We want to transcend the energies of fear. The fear that maybe we won't be loved is another shadow of relationship. Fear is giving all of its attention to that which we really don't want. Blame. When we blame others and project this blame onto them and try to make them responsible for the ways in which we've not been happy, that they are projecting unhappiness on us, or they are responsible for our happiness. Another shadow of relationship. No one is responsible for your happiness except for you. Denial of self. Denial of the glory and the beauty of self. The expansion of the universe is at the mercy of you being in the acknowledgement of how amazingly beautiful you are. When you are in the acknowledgement of the incredible beauty that you hold, then the universe becomes even more glorified in its universal beauty. When the moon is full in Libra, it means the sun is in the opposite sign, Aries. And so in the Aries frequency, we face some of the sacred warrior and sometimes the not so sacred warrior. Maybe there will be some opportunities to deal with that part of you that may be aggressive, or that part of you that may allow others to be aggressive in your life, the unsacred warrior. We want to align with the sacred warrior who takes a stand for the right of the expression of true selfhood, says, I'm going to be me, the whole me, nothing but me, in spite of what's expected of me. So in transcending the shadows, we can rise up into this greater expression of selfhood, in the recognition that Aries, that which is symbolic of selfhood, is the microcosmic container of the universal selfhood, which is reflected within Libra. The highest and most exalted resonance of Libra has to do with the omnipresence, relationships at large, the oneness of the wholeness of the divine creator. It is the universal self, Libra. Libra is also in its highest resonance representing the will of God. Aries, which is opposite Libra, represents the will of self. The will of self is meant to be the microcosmic container of the macrocosmic will of God. So let's take this frequency of Libra up to its highest resonance in the recognition that it is the resonance of the will of God. And we're not meant to allow the will of others to lord over us, but rather allow the will of God to express through us in service to all others. Also in the mix of this full moon lunar eclipse is the planet Mercury, very close to a conjunction to the sun in the sign of Aries. And so we may deal with some of the shadows of communication. Are there arguments that you're engaging in? Are you allowing argumentativeness to be an assault upon your being? Is there verbal confrontation happening? Are you projecting that onto others or allowing others to project that onto you? It is very important to transcend verbal impatience and verbal urgency. Sometimes there's this very rapid communication with Mercury in Aries, rapid fire communication. And sometimes in rapid fire communication, underneath that is the fear that maybe one will not be understood, and maybe one will not be gotten and not be accepted. And so as we communicate, Mercury in Aries, we want to allow some of the resonance of Libra to pour out its baptism of balance onto the communication, so that we then allow some spaces between the words, because there is magnificent communication in these spaces that exist between the words. Sometimes slowing the process of communication down allows for a greater space of being understood, being gotten, being heard. The space between the words represent profound and important communication. Another planet in the mix of this lunar eclipse resonance is Mars. So in this full moon, we have Sun in Aries opposing Moon in Libra, and then Mars acts as a mediator planet, which is in the sign of Sagittarius, making a sextile to the Moon in Libra, that's harmonious, making a trine to the Sun in Aries as well as the Mercury in Aries. So it's harmoniously touching both axes of this full moon frequency, which carries a tremendous amount of intensity, and the Mars in Sagittarius acts as a mediator. It is a resonance of one's exalted desires, purified desires, one's optimism, and also one's sexual innocence. The sexual frequency is important in anything because that sexual frequency is that which creates life, not just physical life as in making babies, but creating life on every level, creating the manifestation of our intentions. And we find that this Mars in Sagittarius gives us this access to the sexual innocence, the erotic innocence. And it is also an optimistic willingness to be taught by the shadows of life, meaning that we look for the advantage within the adversity. We look for the blessing within the curse. We look for the way in which we can perform the sacred alchemy. Alchemy, transforming poison into potion, transforming shadow into light, transforming lead into gold, transforming forgetfulness into the eternal remembrance of true and omnipresent selfhood. It's time to come into the full measure of empowerment, beloved. Be empowered. Remember who you are. Waramuba he wa'a. Waramuba we wa'iya. Waramuba wa divyanu. Wa'a waku wa'ung. Walking on wings, riding the bliss ascension brings. Allow the power of your soul expression to come into alignment with the cosmogasm, that eternal and infinite intention that gave forth the birth of this great universe. Let the cosmogasm and the intention of the cosmogasm come into harmonic convergence with your own personal life intentions. And now turn this darkness into light. Usher this darkness back into that central core, the inner sanctum, that is pure beyond measure, beyond description, uncontaminatable by any negative or shadowy thing. Another thing in the mix of this lunar eclipse is Neptune in Neptune in Pisces. Neptune in Pisces, that makes an inconjunct to that full moon point in Libra. And so we'll experience being very empathic, very impressionable by the energies around you. Make sure you make a distinction between what energies are yours and what energies are coming from other people. Be careful not to be the rescuer. Shadow energies associated with Neptune and Pisces, tends to lead toward wanting to always rescue everyone. Feeling like others are up the creek without a paddle if you don't rush in and save the day. You are not the source of anyone's well-being. I am not the source of anyone's well-being, but God is in the absolute omnipresent sense, is the source of everyone's well-being. We all can help in individual ways, but the source is the creator absolute. And so part of our empowerment is also learning how to have a healthy respect for the suffering that we see others having, and letting the way in which we see them be an affirmation of their greater expansiveness that is transcendent beyond that suffering. Do not be an affirmation of their suffering. Yes, they may be suffering. That may be the fact, and the reality, that fact of their life, but the greater truth. See, sometimes, truth is greater than facts. Sometimes facts are not the truth. Human fact is, yes, they're suffering, but the greater truth is there's something within them that totally transcends suffering. How do you help them beyond their suffering? Not by feeling badly about their suffering, but holding a vision of their transcendence beyond that suffering. Then we have Chiron, the planet of the wounded healer, that is conjunct the South Node in Pisces. Here's an opportunity to heal the wounded energy ghost of past and past lives. Past has passed away, and used to bees don't make no honey. Let's transcend the blockages. And so, beloved, this is about relationship. Relationship is a vessel for the journey of love that leads back to heaven. And the operative word is in relationship is ship, S-H-I-P, a vessel. Sometimes relationships are like a rowboat. In a rowboat, you have to work really, really hard and don't cover much ground. Some relationships are like that. Tremendous amount of work and don't seem to go very far. Some relationships are like the motorboat. They go really, really fast and they're fiery and they're passionate, but then they run out of gas real quick. Some relationships are like the tugboat, where you feel like you're just having to drag the beloved along, or they're dragging you along, where someone in the relationship is not pulling their own weight. Some relationships are like the fishing boat, where one is constantly fishing for something else because there is not satisfaction in the relationship that you have. If that's the case, then maybe you're saying a big unsacred yes. You want to meditate on, when you're in a relationship, your being in that relationship, is it a statement of a sacred yes or an unsacred yes? If it's an unsacred yes, it would be far better to say the sacred no, step away, because the sacred no then becomes a reflection of your integrity. Some relationships are like a kayak, which is that little vessel that only one being can be in. And sometimes we go through that cycle of being in deep relationship with self. But even in being in relationship with self, it is important to understand that self is the microcosmic container of the all that is. And so by extension, even when we're in deep and abiding relationship with ourselves, by extension, we're also in relationship with every other being, because we are the microcosmic container of the all that is. And some relationships are like the luxury liner, where everything that you want is provided. And that's the one that we all want. And so the greater wisdom is to see, or to harmonically converge the resonance of the luxury liner with any relationship that we're in, even if it's the tugboat and we seem to be drug along or having to drag someone along. Superimpose the frequency of the luxury liner over that, so that that lesser energy can morph into something greater. If it's the motorboat, that runs out of gas real fast, see if we can bring in the resonance of the luxury liner and get greater longevity out of that relationship. If it's the rowboat, where we're having to work really, really hard, bringing the frequency of the luxury liner into that, so that we have the stamina and the strength, to move it forward. And so, beloved, I wish you great exaltation and mastery in working with these energies of this lunar eclipse, full moon in Libra. And know that everything is meant to be servant unto you. Nothing is meant to be master over you, except you being master over your own self. And so I think it would be a great thing if I offer a little bit of the frequency of the didgeridoo to just put some of the sacred icing on the cake here. Receive these transmissions with as an intention to bring you into a greater exalted empowerment of mastering your relationships and milking the sweetness out of them, and being in a sweeter relationship with your own self as well. I love you so much. Oh, life is delicious and delightful. Oh my goddess, you're so beautiful, beloved. I want you to own that. No more renting with option to buy. I am Astarius Miraculi. I champion you with the passion of heaven. And inviting you to something really amazing that is happening on the 1st through the 3rd of April here in Atlanta, Georgia. It is the Sacred Sexuality Retreat. I'm doing a couple of amazing workshops in that retreat, and there's a number of 10 other presenters. I mean, it's going to be amazing frequency. We are reclaiming the sexual juice in a good way. There's too much erotic shame and disassociation with this force that is a powerful force of creation. And so we want to reclaim that, be in a very safe and empowered place, and a place wherein you could reclaim your innocence. You know, walking in innocence is a really powerful thing. And in order to truly be innocent, one must be in the acknowledgement of universal innocence. There is no genuine innocence if it's only exclusively related to one's individual selfhood. Which is why in one of my writings I say, Father, Mother, God, into your heart I deliver my conscience so that I will always remember and exemplify your gift of divine innocence. I do this on behalf of all, and the light of eternal forgiveness shines through us. I am eternally innocent. When we are in true resonance with the innocence that we are, then we become inner sent from the inner sanctum of our being down the corridors of our life, breeding the greatest fruitfulness that our life could possibly offer. So below this video in the description area, you will find a link, sacredsexualityretreat.com, where you can go to the website and get a lot of the particulars with regards to this amazing retreat. And I would love to share that time with you and to grow and expand and be empowered. I also offer psychic astrology readings and sound healing transmissions, chakra alignment transmissions with didgeridoo, with vocal harmonics. Please go to my website, which you can click on the link that is actually on the video to go to my site. I have a number of CDs, a couple of books, tremendous opportunities. And also, if you are fed by the teachings that I offer, I invite you to partake of my products and services, but also on my website there is a contribution link. So if I am a source of expansion for you, I would love to also receive some contributions to help facilitate my expansion of this work. Thank you so much. Aho, Ashe, Amen, Namaste, Hotep, In Lakesh, Alakin, Shalom, Satnam, Hariom, and fly well, my beloved. I love you so much.